Okay, we're here with Jakob Michaels, and we just had a session. And could you tell everybody what our session was about?
Well, what we did today, basically, is we took a lot of the information that we use in our heads and we oftentimes have running in the background. So kind of the unconscious part of our minds. And we actually reset it so that way you could achieve goals that you'd like to have in your life. So we basically created fundamentally a mentality shift, which I think is actually the main thing needed for actual good change more than anything.
Okay, I do have a question about our session. I honestly don't remember a lot about it. Is that normal?
That actually is pretty normal. We'll have a lot of people actually come and say, you know, I've had people before that they wake up after maybe I've done a performance, an hour-long show or something, and they'll be like, well, what happened? And it's a simple matter of actually giving the memory back. Of course, if you could imagine what it'd be like, it's like a daydream when you come out of it in a way. And it's weird how sometimes when you're starting to think about these daydreams, like the cloud starts to fall away and it starts to kind of come into focus, and suddenly it's like it just pops in your mind like that, and you remember it all kind of like that. And when you think about it now, you can notice how you actually remember everything.
I do remember when we were done that I was feeling really tired. Is that normal?
Yeah. When I do self-hypnosis sessions on myself, typically it amounts to feeling like literally like I've got coming out of like a sludge. It's the weirdest thing. Your body is so physically relaxed in a good state of relaxation that basically you can't help but feel very sludgy, relaxed, and great. So the tiredness does set in quite a bit.
Because now that I've gotten past that, I'm feeling a lot of energy.
Yeah.
So I just wondered if it's all part of the normal process of things. That's how it's supposed to work?
Yeah. It actually works a lot like that. Very few times have I had like people usually wake up and they feel, ooh, and then suddenly they begin to get this burst of energy, because what's happened is it's about like, imagine your muscles going from completely relaxed to being counted up from 1 to 5 to suddenly going, so it takes a second for it to set in. Of course, I do all my own sound effects, you can tell.
I remember when you were here a couple weeks ago, we had some people, and you focused on a couple people in the room. Mm-hmm. Do you intuitively know who's going to be the best subject to work with, or who needs it the most at the time? How do you figure out who to work with?
Really, I have a weird look thinking on it, because I test sometimes with some things I say. Like, testing can be something as simple as asking questions. For example, Doorman, I don't know how entirely ethical this is, and I don't really do this test. I do a version of this test, but not exactly verbatim, so please, sounds ethically weird, but don't get on me for this. Doorman McGill, the actual former dean of hypnotists, who's long since passed away, actually used to do a hypnosis show where he'd do no suggestibility testing. 0. And it perplexed people, and they've just recently been figuring out this language pattern. You come out and say, how many of you believe in guardian angels? And for some people, the people who raise their hands, he would actually start asking more questions and focusing on them. Because they've created a framework around it to something people can accept. So anybody can be into a hypnotic kind of altered state, and it's not really fully that altered, but they can get the full range of phenomena if they have the right framing of it in mind. If people look as mind control, they're probably going to feel mind controlled by it. If they look at something therapeutic, they're going to find something therapeutic out of it. And what I mean by that is basically, well, it's like we talked about this at the beginning of the session, the reticular activation system. If I told you right now to think of the color green, you're noticing all the green things in the room because your brain's pattern matching and trying to make that into something that makes rational sense. So if that kind of helps out at all, most hypnotists do suggestibility testing and all this other stuff. I find that really you don't need it as long as you can as long as you can basically catch the attention of somebody's imagination, their unconscious processes.
Well, there was one person here that was very, I don't want to say susceptible, but very open to what you do, and she had no idea. and you spent a lot of time with her because it was fun.
Yeah.
So I mean, how did you ask her questions beforehand, or did you already know her that you knew she would be open to this? Or
there was one important thing I don't think was on the camera but was said. She said something like, I saw you hypnotize somebody one time and I was fascinated.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And out of that and just the twinkle in her eye mixed with, like I said, I was telling you this earlier, when people are talking to me, I can tell when I'm bringing them into an altered state because they blink. I can see their eyes fluttering a little bit. Mm-hmm. When I see that, it's like saying, I'm good to go. Now, without them saying it.
Right. Have you ever had somebody who says, I can't be hypnotized, this won't work on me? Has that ever happened to you?
Yeah. And the thing is, if you look at it like a magic trick, it's not going to work for you. Like, and I tell this to a lot of people. I did a presentation for the Secular Student Alliance, and I'll be honest with you, it just flopped. It was terrible, because every single person in the Secular Student Alliance, which is, if you don't know what that is, it's like a kind of skeptics group, they really didn't, they liked it, they said they enjoyed the talk, but they looked at it like a magic trick, and that's why it didn't work, honestly. Because what you can understand is, it's about like if I did a test right now, I want you to just let your intuitive mind make the decisions, not you. It's your intuitive mind, your kind of imaginative and conscious processes that are making this thing happen. It's not consciously you or anything like that.
So different people will experience this in a different way.
Yep. It's a completely individualistic experience for the most part.
And it also depends on how open their mind is to it.
Yeah, in a way, because it depends on what kind of style you're doing. Like overt hypnosis, yes, you can do that. It'll work most of the time, but you can do covert hypnotic techniques for people who don't even know you're a hypnotist and easily do something that's kind of not full-blown like sleep-style inductions, but you can do inductions of acting people's imaginations and leading them in a certain way.
Okay. I have one more question. I know you're in a hurry to get going. You have somewhere you have to be. That night that you were here, I was not one of your subjects, but yet I felt oddly like I do right now. Like I couldn't remember a lot of what happened, but I was very excited and energized when you left. How did that happen?
Well, basically, it's very... Okay, for example, this. You just smiled. Probably everybody watching this just smiled right now. When we exuberate a state that's relative around us, when we're in a room full of happy people, we feel happy. For the most part. Mm-hmm. Not saying everybody. There's always going to be one curmudgeon in the room, but it's right. It's more difficult to not feel that way. When you can genuinely bring a state up and send it out to somebody else, you can influence kind of the way they think and feel. So it's natural that most people, like seriously, this is a story. Sometimes I'll go into a group and I'll do a 2-minute hypnosis piece, and during the piece I'll do something that I did the other night called the sleep gun, where it's basically look, and you're in a state of hypnosis, and it's a blast. It's a very fun technique. Yeah. It's mainly for stage, not really the therapeutic stuff as much. But then I'll coldly look at somebody, you go like this and go, and they'll drop into the state too. Without any, just cold. No, not even, no working with them, just point blank look at them, bow. Or even just do a staring induction. It's all about, one, your ability to bring yourself into the state so other people are biofeedbacking off you, and two, having so much confidence in that it's going to happen, that it will happen, and your belief shifts their belief as well.
I've seen that happen. It was great. I wish we had got that on tape. Maybe Friday night we'll get that on tape, because
yeah, we'll have to do some sleep gunning.
That was the funniest thing of the whole night. All right, well, thank you. I appreciate your time. That's interesting stuff. We're going to have some more, hopefully Friday night.
Woo! Take care.